Hello, my dear friend. I hope you're feeling great today. Now, let me share with you the incredible true story of a teenage girl who changed the course of a nation's history. Not with riches, not with royal blood, not with training in battle, but with unbreakable faith, raw courage, and a voice that refused to stay silent. Her name was Joan of Arc. She was born around 1412 in a tiny village called Domremy in northern France. She was a simple peasant girl, no school, no reading or writing, just helping her family tend animals and work the fields. Life was tough, and France was even tougher. The country was trapped in the long and bloody 100 Years' War with England. Many parts of France were under English control, and the French people were losing hope. But when Joan was about 13, something extraordinary happened. While in her father's garden, she began hearing clear voices and seeing visions. She believed they came from heaven, from the Archangel Michael, Saint Catherine, and Saint Margaret. These voices told her, "Joan, God has chosen you to help save France. You must support the young Prince Charles and help him become the true king, drive the English out." At first, she was scared and confused. She was so young, a girl from nowhere, with no experience of war or politics. But the voices kept coming, stronger and clearer. By age 16, 17, she could no longer ignore them. She decided to act. Joan cut her hair short, dressed in men's clothes for safety and travel, and went to a nearby fortress town called Vaucouleurs. She asked the local captain to send her to the prince, called the Dauphin, Charles. He laughed at first. A teenage peasant girl leading armies? Impossible. But Joan kept coming back, persistent and calm. Eventually, people noticed something special in her, a quiet confidence, a light in her eyes. The captain finally agreed and gave her an escort. She traveled hundreds of miles to meet Charles at Chinon Castle. To test her, Charles hid among his courtiers, dressed plainly. But Joan walked straight to him, knelt, and said she was sent by God to help him win his crown. She even told him private things only he knew, things that convinced him she was genuine. Charles was amazed and began to trust her. The church examined her for weeks in Poitiers. Scholars and priests asked hard questions. Are these voices from God or the devil? Why would God choose a girl? Joan answered simply and honestly, never losing her calm. They found no evil in her, so Charles gave her what no woman had ever received: command of troops, armor, a banner with the names of Jesus and Mary, and a horse. In 1429, the English were besieging the important city of Orléans. If it fell, France might collapse. Joan arrived with the army and brought new energy. She inspired the soldiers with prayers, discipline, and bold words. Have courage, God is with us. She carried her banner into battle. She hated killing and rarely used a sword. Despite being wounded by an arrow, she pulled it out and kept fighting. In just a few days, the siege was broken, a huge victory that shocked everyone. The French chased the English and won more battles, like at Patay. With this momentum, Joan urged Charles to go to Reims for his coronation, the sacred city deep in enemy territory. Against many nobles' advice, they marched. Cities opened their gates without fighting as people saw Joan and believed God was with her. In July 1429, Charles was crowned King Charles VII in the great cathedral, with Joan standing proudly beside him, holding her banner. She had done what she came for. She even asked to go home to her village, but the war wasn't over. Joan wanted to free more land, including Paris, but now the king hesitated. He wanted peace deals instead of more fighting. Support weakened. In 1430, while defending the town of Compiègne, Joan was captured by Burgundian forces, allies of the English. They sold her to the English for a huge ransom. Sadly, Charles did nothing to save her, perhaps out of politics or fear. The English put her on trial in Rouen in 1431. It was not fair. The judges were mostly pro-English, and the goal was to destroy her reputation, so her victories would seem like devil's work. Joan, only 19, faced weeks of clever, cruel questions in chains. She answered with amazing clarity and courage. When trapped by tricky questions about God's grace or her voices, she said wise things like, "If I am not in God's grace, may He put me there. If I am, may He keep me." They pressured her until, exhausted and scared, she signed a paper retracting her claims for a moment. But soon after, she took it back. She said the truth was stronger than fear. The court called her a relapsed heretic and sentenced her to death. On May 30th, 1431, she was burned at the stake in Rouen marketplace. She asked for a cross to hold, called out to Jesus, and died praying. She was just 19. But her story didn't end there. The English thought fire would erase her. They were wrong. Her courage lived on in people's hearts. In 1455-56, a new investigation, ordered after pressure, cleared her name completely. The original trial was declared unfair and wrong. Joan was declared innocent and a martyr. Centuries later, in 1920, the Catholic Church canonized her as a saint, Saint Joan of Arc. Today, she is a national heroine of France, a symbol of faith, bravery, and standing up for what is right.